Perceive, process, perform. Do you need inspiration for your practice, or do you simply need to practice inspiration? With this series, we aim to do both. Give us 15 minutes and we'll give you practice inspiration.
My name is Dr. Barry Thompson, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you some things that I'm sure you haven't heard before. The subject of my expertise is confidence, and I'm not sure how often you've heard someone speak about confidence, but what I'd like to talk to you today about is how confidence can make a difference, a significant difference, and can change your life, and how we can do that. Let me ask you a couple of questions just to kick off. The first one is, can you recall in your life when you made the best choice? There were a number of choices, whatever those were, and you feel, looking back now, it was the best choice. It was the best choice at the time, and still looking back, it is the best choice now. Whether it was finance, whether it was relationships, whether it was your job, whether you were to study, whatever, you had a list of choices and you feel you made the best choice. Let me look and ask about the flip side of that. The other side of that is, when have you settled for less than best? Times in your life where you had a list of significant options and you feel, looking back, it was actually less than best. You could have done better, whatever that was. Maybe in a sports setting, you feel you could have done a little bit better. In retrospect. Maybe it's in relationships. You felt that you actually settled for second best when the best was out there. And so you can go through your life, and you're probably thinking of some right now, of those events and decisions that you made that were less than best. And somehow you wished you could have those back. Somehow you wished you could have a do-over, and some of them, and many of them, you won't be able to do over. Well, the truth of the matter is that the difference between less than best and best is the domain of what I call confidence. The person that makes the best decision is usually confident about that decision for various reasons. The person that makes less than best decision is usually less than confident. So my world of expertise, and what we're going to talk about today, is that whole world of confidence. How we can take you from less than best to actually the best in every area of your life. First of all, I think it's important to determine what we mean by confidence, because as you go through billboards and you look at the television and you look on the web, this is one of those feel-good words that marketers love: confidence. It goes from cars, being confident in buying a car. It goes to Tupperware. You can be confident in ordering Tupperware. You can be confident in everything, up to adult nappies. And all of these are supposed to make you more confident. Chewing gum, buying inventory, whatever it is. And is that true? Is that actually true? Is it true that if I sat in a car, I bought this particular car, and I sat in that car, I would actually be more confident? Or if I bought that type of gum instead of that type of gum, would that make me more confident? Or I put my food in a Tupperware, this Tupperware, and not that piece of plastic, would I actually be more confident? It's one of those feel-good terms that really nobody knows what it means. So I think it's important today to determine what we mean, so we're all in the same playing field, what we mean by confidence. So confidence, in a basic definition, is a high expectation of achieving an outcome in spite of an obstacle. There are three main components in that simple definition. One is a high expectation of achieving something. Secondly, there is an outcome that you're expecting. And thirdly, there is a resistance. There's a force going against you as you try to achieve that objective. So those are the components, the three major components of confidence as we go forward. As you think about life, there are many things that influence your confidence. Right now, as you sit here today, there are things that have happened and things that you are that make you what you are in terms of confidence. Many of those you have no control over. I mean, the family that you were born into, the language that your family speak, the gender that you are, male or female, the faith that you have, your training, your upbringing, all of those things impact your confidence, and you have no control over those. So those can be a positive or a negative, or they can be a neutral factor. There are some things that you do have control over, like your education and your training and your social interaction with other people. But mostly the influences that have brought you to this point today are factors that you had very little control over. But there are some factors that you do have control over, and that's what we want to talk about today. Why even talk about confidence? And this is probably a question that you may never have asked, but it's worthwhile asking. When you view someone, and if you can think of someone in your own circle of friends or your own network of people, can you think of one person or a couple of people who you would classify as confident? By the way they carry themselves, by the way they speak, or in many dimensions. But yes, that person is confident. And chances are they fall into some of these statistics in terms of confidence. Confident people complete a task 3 to 4 times faster than people that are not confident. They contribute 35 to 65% more to an organization than those that aren't. And they fail, or they have fewer mistakes, 1/3 less mistakes than other people that are less confident. They display stronger body language. They're more upright. They're more bold. They walk with their chin up. They walk with their eyes in front of them. They visualize. They focus on you, your eyes to eyes. They're more likely to be leaders. They're 3 times more likely to be successful. And they're deemed to be more attractive than others. And finally, they're more likely to receive promotions or rewards. So the attractiveness of being confident is a key factor. And that's what we would like to be. I don't think there's anybody here today that would say, I don't want to be a confident person. I would love to be a confident person. And I'm going to give you some secrets today to how to achieve that. So let's address those things in the time that we have. Let's address those 4 things that kill your confidence. Or in another way, the 4 things that permit us or entice us to settle for less than best. First of all, the fear of failure. We're going to take these one at a time. We're going to think about these. This is something that we're born with. This is something, thank you. This is something that it's in our DNA. It's something we didn't learn. They didn't teach us. Our parents didn't sit us down and say, this is how you need to be fearful of failure. It's just something that we have. And psychologists tell us it's one of the leading fears is the fear of failure. I don't know if you remember going to school the first time and the teacher asked you to stand up and give a book report. You were probably terrified, as I was. Now, it's not someone didn't sit you down and say you should really be fearful of this because chances are you're going to fail. No one talked about it. It was just inherent. Or when you went out into the playground as a child and they were divvying up the people into 2 different teams, and the fear that you had that you would be a failure and be picked last. Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about here. And those go with us even into life. There's a fear that we have, a fear of heights, a fear of climbing, a fear of public speaking, whatever those are. And somehow they're just inherent, they're core in our DNA. And those very often will inhibit us from being the confident person that we should be. There's another aspect which is slightly different, the flip side of this coin, not fear of failure, but fear from failure. This is very different. If the fear of failure has to do with something that is not tangible, it's not tied to an event or a time, this one is. Fear from failure is actually tied to an event or a person or something that happened in our life, a failure in our life. We were fired, we were kicked off the team, we had a breakup with our boyfriend or our girlfriend, and because of that, we have a fear in going forward. I was speaking to a young lady who had been fired as a barrister from a coffee shop. And I told her there was another coffee shop across town that was actually hiring. Would she be interested? No. I don't want to go near another coffee shop. It had nothing to do with the coffee shop per se, because the reason she was fired is because she was always late. It had nothing to do with the coffee. It had everything to do with the experience. And because of that failure in her life, that shame in her life, She didn't want to go forward. And you can see this in lives around us, whether it's a marriage or a relationship or a job or a sports example, whatever those are. I failed here, and because I failed here, the chances are I'm going to fail again. They tell us that the difference in any sport, the top 10 teams or individuals in the top 10 sports, those top 10 people, the number one difference is this factor, is the fear from failure. I don't believe that my failure yesterday is going to impact me today as a person that plays confidently. A person that says or has in the back of their mind that, I was beaten yesterday and chances are I'm going to get beaten today. And so it's that shame that we carry with us from experiences in our life. So fear of failure, fear from failure. The third thing is the lack of knowledge. In other words, I don't have sufficient knowledge to be confident about that. I always think of the first time I changed the oil in my car. I had no idea where the little screw was. I had no idea where to put the oil. And so you can go on Google or you can look on books and you can read all about it, but until you actually do it, you don't have the necessary knowledge to make that exercise happen and make it be successful. So there are times in our life where we just don't have the knowledge, or the knowledge that we have is incorrect knowledge, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. And then the final one that kills confidence or permits us to make less than best decisions is the voices in our head syndrome. And I'm sure you've experienced it. You might be experiencing that right now. The day that we're born, as I say, a little MP3 recorder begins in our mind. It begins to record everything we do and say, and everybody, all the interaction we have with other people and all the things they say about us. And psychologists tell us that 70% of what's recorded in our memory are the negative things in life. The negative things that we've experienced or that people have said to us. And unfortunately, those MP3 players continue to go around. They never stop. Night and day, we think about those things. And you've heard about events. I remember one, as a child, my dad was building a little building, and he asked me to come down. I think I was 9 or 10 years old. He asked me to come down and give him a hand. He built the floor out of wood, and then the idea is that you build the wall on the sides, and you lift the walls up into place, the wooden walls, and then you put the roof on. And it was Dad and I, and Dad built the floor and he built the walls, and I had to stand in the middle of this floor as he lifted up the walls, and I had to hold a 2x4 so that it would hold the wall up until he could get them all up and put the roof on. Well, everything was going fine. I held the 2x4, Dad lifted up the wall, it was standing in place very nicely. What he didn't explain to me is what happens if the wall falls that way instead of this way. And the wall, sure enough, fell the other way, shattered, and my dad drove me home and told me what a silly boy I was. I couldn't even hold up a wall. Now, that's a funny example, but that's on my MP3 player. And it goes all the time. When I'm building, when I'm trying to construct something new, when I'm attempting something I've never attempted before, that MP3 player tells me the voices in your head. Remember what happened to the wall. Remember the wall that fell down. Remember you couldn't even hold the wall up and your dad thought you were stupid. That's a simple example, and you have others, and I'm sure there are some that even are a lot more serious than an old wall falling down. But the voices in our head very often will bring hesitation to us in being confident about doing something. So those are the four things: fear of failure, fear from failure, the lack of knowledge, the voices in your head. But I want to focus on what you can do. Let's say you get up tomorrow morning and you really just don't feel very confident. There's a bit of a cloud over your head, and you're just not feeling like you're confidently ready to face the day. There are some things that you can and you should do, and there are 5 of them at least. Number 1, you can increase your knowledge and continue to be a lifelong learner. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Your life experiences, you can either use those in a detrimental way that will negatively impact your life, or you can use those in a positive way as a learning exercise to make you stronger for tomorrow. You can also align yourself with a mentor or a coach, someone who's more experienced, someone who you trust, someone who you know cares for you, and they can feed into your life. You can also become part of a team, a collaboration, working together as a team. And there's great wisdom in many minds as we work together, and that can help your confidence. And finally, planning. If you Aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time, goes the old proverb. And that's true. We need to plan. If this is where we are and that's where we want to be, we want to be a confident person making the right kind of decisions, we need to plan to get there. This is where we are. That's where we want to be. How are we going to do that? I want to focus just for a brief minute on knowledge. So how do we build our knowledge? There's been a great deal of work by three professors out of Southern California, and they've identified this quadrant, and they've linked the correlation, they've brought a correlation between knowledge and confidence. And essentially what they've come up with is what we're trying to do in everything that we do, whether it's cooking at home or whether it's our relationship, we want to be masters. In other words, we want to hold confidently held correct information. And the rest of those are the paths that we need to get there. We might be misinformed. In other words, we confidently hold misinformation. We might have doubts. In other words, the information we have is not quite 100% sure, or we just don't know them, ignorance. And so we need to drive towards mastery, and that's why it's so important to be lifelong learners, always learning. And that's why it's wonderful to see you here today, learning how to be better and more confident people. So as we close and wrap this up, I would encourage you in all of these areas to be the more confident person so that you can reach for the best and be the confident you that you deserve to be, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in your relationships or finance or on the sports field, wherever it is, to be a confident person. Everyone is born to be confident. And the way we do that is by knowledge, is by life experiences, by having someone mentor us, to work together with other people that can enhance what we have to give and to plan to get there. So again, what I would like to do is leave you with this prayer and this desire, is that you be confident and settle for the best and not settle for less than best. Thank you very much for your attention, and I trust this has been helpful and appreciate the time spent with you.